From the hidden secrets of our backyards to the realities of the third world, we take a raw and real look into the challenges and the pursuits of social justice. Welcome to The Point.
The Point podcast is brought to you by LaPointe.life, offering healthcare, entrepreneurship, and education both domestically and internationally. Visit LaPointe.life to find out how you can get involved.
Here's 5 food facts that I'm sure you didn't know. Number 1, 25 million Americans live more than 15 miles from a grocery store. Number 2, the average item on a grocery shelf travels an astounding 1,500 miles to get there. Number 3, people living in the poorest socioeconomic status are 2.5 times more likely to be exposed to fast food than those living in wealthy areas. Fact number 4, we actually throw away 60% of the lettuce and spinach that we buy at the store. I know I'm guilty of this, having that nasty, gooey spinach at the bottom of the bag that you had such high hopes for making smoothies out of at the beginning of the week. And fact number 5, which kind of blows my mind, is that we are already using half of the world's land and 30% of its water to grow food. But by 2050, it's estimated that we're going to have to increase food production by 70%. So all this talk about food not only makes us hungry, but it can make us stressed about what do we do? I mean, after all, people have to eat. So today we are joined by Farmer Levi and Farmer Tosheena. They are living in West Philadelphia, and they help to run this incredible urban farm called Mill Creek Farms. Mill Creek was actually built on land that was not considered stable for housing foundations that were originally there, and it was eventually torn down in the 1970s. Since then, there's been a community garden on the western portion of the block, and on the eastern portion sat vacant except for trash and weeds until 2005. And that's actually when Mill Creek was able to step in and become the educational and environmental farm that they are. But rather than me trying to explain all this, please join me in welcoming Farmer Levi and Farmer Tosheena.
My name is Brother Levi. I'm one of the lead farmers, or one of the lead growers here at Mill Creek Farms.
I'm Assistant Lead Farmer Tosheena.
Basically, Mill Creek Farm is a urban grow area and a community garden and farm area that's been around since the 70s. This area was once a place where buildings were, but buildings used to actually be here during the 50s and the 60s. And a lot of stuff sunk in because this area, Mill Creek, is over a literal creek. So a lot of housing could not be here. So the whole area was rebuilt into a farm and community garden. And it's been successful ever since. And again, this area used to be a actual creek, and it still does run under. And it was used as an industrial creek for manufacturing. A lot of creeks in Philadelphia and around America, of course, were. So hence the name Mill Creek. In West Philadelphia, you have Cobb's Creek, same area, just another side of town. You have the Wissahickon. All these were areas where an industry at one time also started in America. So buildings were here. The buildings couldn't survive on the land because of the water, the moisture. So it wound up being restructured to become a grow area.
Very cool. And who is the founders? Like, who had the first idea to turn it into a community garden?
Mill Creek garden side actually was led by the community. They started gardening on this plot of land prior to becoming a farm. So the farm actually started as a joint partnership between the University of Pennsylvania and a local high school here in Philadelphia. The high school students and the University of Pennsylvania joined together to actually start the farm. Yeah, so that's been active for about 17 years now.
Wow.
And the nonprofit was formed that runs the farm.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. And the nonprofit, is that a little taste of everything?
It is, yeah.
And so can you tell us a bit about what exactly urban farming is?
So urban farming is basically is well-structured, methodical growing in urban areas and long stretches of land that sometimes are about a block long, 2 blocks long, 3 blocks long. Anything less than that is usually a garden. But once you start going into anything that's about a block long, it's acreage. So you're starting to deal with farming. You're dealing with longer tracts of land. But urban farming is knowing how to produce crops in the city for use, for health within city boundaries, with holistic and safe methods. Because we're talking about producing food for other human beings. So urban agriculture is a safe method of growing food within city boundaries. That's the best definition I can give you.
That's a fantastic definition. And from what I understand, at Mill Creek, you don't use any chemicals. Is that correct?
No chemicals, no. Anything we use here is plant-based. Any product that's bought to be used, we can show it to you. We can show the ingredients, and we also know how to use it because we follow the instructions and we use it only in small quantities. But none of it is like major farm pesticide, DDT, or anything of that nature at all. As a matter of fact, anything we use here, you can use yourself in your farm or your garden. So, and it's all on your body. Yes,
Wow.
it's all organic, and we follow the instructions of these organic-based gardening products that we have. So, things like fish emulsion, and we use neem, which is a basic herbal mixture that's used to help fight off insects and certain infections. We even use food grade hydrogen peroxide and water. All this stuff is diluted before it even gets onto the plants. So it's all organic based growing.
Yeah, that's incredible. And from what I understand as well, you are what you consider an educational farm too.
Yes.
So tell us about like how does that work? People come in from high schools and help out and learn about it, or what does that look like?
We have a volunteer
Okay.
system that is set up for Mill Creek. We also have various schools in the area that come to the farm, that will come around the farm. One of those groups is the Road School, which is always open to Mill Creek. And we actually, when children come and schools come past, the door is always open for them to learn and come in. Yeah, it's definitely education based, all community based.
I love that. I saw on one of the videos on YouTube, they were talking about like how an elementary kid came and planted, I think maybe some kale or something, and then grew the kale and then brought it home and like gave it to their parents. And they're like, "What? You
Yep,
grew this? This is so
that's right.
cool."
Yep, yeah, we actually do that. All the food that we grow here, we also let people see how it grows. We have something called a backyard growers program
Okay.
at Mill Creek Farms where people can do gardening and farming at home. And we supply the tools and the education and the learning groups. And like we create study groups through gardening in the city. So there's people all through West Philadelphia, even through North Philadelphia, all in the other sections of Philadelphia who are gardening. And Mill Creek is the supplier of their particular tools and gardening products, their raised beds, which, by the way, we also make raised beds here. We recycle wood here. We
Okay.
recycle old wood and use them in actual urban agriculture. One thing about city farming is because, with so much other work you do, how you set up a grow area so it can take care of itself. So I don't have to come in and fight so much with the land because it's urban. Versus when you have a very large rural farm, you know, there's certain things technology wise that's set up. It's not small, it's large. So it's certain things that are set up technology wise, season wise,
Mhm.
but it can still maintain by itself over a season. So what I'm doing here now, I'm setting things up so they can grow not only over a season, but plants don't have to fight so much with the environment to grow.
Mm.
There's space set up for various types of plants to grow. And that's why this is the first time I think we've been doing this many raised beds. First time I've seen raised beds at Mill Creek.
Really?
Yeah. Or just using weed block. Because of this year we use weed block to keep a lot of plants from blowing into the field. Their seed blow into the field and then they feed off of your field.
Yeah.
So I had to till the ground, and this is a lot of people don't see this about growing. I had to till 3 times with a machine. I pushed it down, so I had to do that at least about 3 times and add amendments until the color changed. If it doesn't get to a certain color, that means I need amendments. And so I had to do it 3 times until the color got to the right level. And even the amount of weeds that were in the ground, I had to break that down And because I didn't have a lot of time to build raised beds or put down weed block in certain areas, I just had to really just go ahead and just lay down weed block and just sow into my weed block. That way my plants have a chance to grow strong without fighting everybody.
It's like it's like such a good symbolism of life, right?
Yeah, out in the fields, everything. You know what? Farming teach you about all the life cycles, and it's such a beautiful thing. We have a joy of looking at bees, of finding out how intelligent animals are out here.
Hmm.
This is my third city farm or city garden I've built. This is one of my joys to build because I love to see the children's faces and families eat and people feel joyful. And it's always peaceful in building it. Don't nobody want to come up here, right? Right. So
Yeah, being in an urban environment and being able
yeah,
to take that little escape into
yeah.
nature,
This was a little paradise out here.
right?
It's noisy on the outside, but it's very peaceful inside.
Mhm. It's so important to have that in the community. How have you seen, either in the communities you've worked in before or in Mill Creek community, West Philly, like how have you seen these urban farms transform the community?
Oh, well, one thing for sure is being a builder of one. I've built actually three and one twice. What I've noticed is it stops violence. It helps gives children an outlet to
Wow.
learn, a safe space, a healthy thinking space, clean water, people that care, and also nutrition. You can come up here and get a meal. Someone that's hungry. I've had elders who are growers. So we have a community side and we have a farm side. So it all really connects in my world anyway.
Uh-huh.
And it's all one. And so it's times when elders have come through and they needed some food. Urban farms help with food security. All the food of America comes from another place. 60%, if not more, of the food that we eat comes from somewhere else, whether it's a banana or whatever. Carrots, even for that matter, come from somewhere else. So to be able to come to someone where food is at in abundance and say, hey, can I get a bag? Can I get a couple of vegetables? No, you can't get a couple of vegetables. You can get a bag of vegetables. And it's a beauty to see the faces shine and people feel good about growing food and helping each other. So, urban agriculture is the future and it's the past. It's one of the main movements of America where America dropped the ball. America moved all of its major productions of survival to other places. So car manufacturing, my father and his father seen a car made in America. There's not too many places where our children can see something being made in America. So that means employment, being able to employ the people. Urban agriculture, all the housing came down in the 60s and 70s. The factories all came down in the 60s and 70s, particularly in the 70s. So that means you had two generations or so that they didn't work in those areas. They didn't work in the city. They had to find new type of work. So now you have all this vacant property, you have all this unemployment, right? And here's another disparity. All your food comes from somewhere else, yet you have no employment and you have vacant space and land
Yeah.
and you have economic disparity.
Hmm.
So really what you have is an opportunity that could have created employment for America, food security for America, right? Not teaching me how to grow and how to do horticulture, okay, when I'm in jail. No, this is real, and this is something that really bothered me. When I seen people, not that they learn in horticulture in prison, that's beautiful. Learning anything is beautiful. I help people in prisons all the time, my family, my people. What I don't like though is that you would wait this long to teach horticulture. That's something that could have been done not just as a deterrent, that could have been a lifestyle practice. So the alternative economy is an economy created by somebody else that's illegal. And so where we could be producing for ourselves, we're not. And the sad thing is that urban agriculture on a community level is more radical than some of the deepest crimes.
Hmm.
And I've witnessed that firsthand. To take an urban lot that's been sitting for 30 years vacant, you can get more static about that than many other things.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of politics. Yeah, land is wealth. And I think this is an opportunity that America will have to, and I've said this for 20 something years, America will have to produce for itself on its own land and its own spaces. The farther you are from your food and your energy, the more dependency you will have. And when those sources are gone or can't produce, you're affected. So what we're teaching here at Mill Creek, and not just Mill Creek, but what I teach, particularly me, is that produce where you are. Learn to produce where you are. Food is one, and of course, energy is another. We also have solar panels here.
Good. Yes. So good.
So it's like self-sufficiency versus, getting caught up in crime.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah, because I believe personally that self-sufficiency education is the real movement, is the real revolution, and it is the real economy. That's what needs to be taught. And it should have been taught in school. It should be taught at home, And so that's our goal, is to get the people to know that they can produce for themselves. That's the goal, in my opinion. And that's why I'm here. That's my ultimate spill, my Mad Max spill on reality.
You're doing it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you to Tosheena. She said I rock, but Tosheena,
No, listen.
you asked the
Come
Tosheena
on.
question.
Let me hear it.
Tosheena got stripes in the game.
No, I do not have stripes in the game. I'm not very
Yeah.
You have a firefighter shirt on?
EMT. I had some EMT experience in my lifetime.
Oh, my husband's an EMT.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a hard job.
It is a hard job, and it takes a special type of person in order to take on that role in life. I became an EMT to become a real life superhero.
Yeah.
I felt like that was the ultimate, So yeah, whenever you're a firefighter or EMT or you're giving up your service, you're a superhero. Even in farming, superheroism, So, and I look at farming the same way as like a body, like I would a body.
Ooh,
I'm
that's
sure
good.
your husband could attest to this. As an EMT, they teach us to view the body first impression. And when you look at a plant, you have to view it by its first impression. Plants do speak to you. They let you know what's going on inside of them. And the body speaks to us and let us know what's going on inside. There are symptoms, there are signs that we need to measure. So out in farming, that's the same technique we use out here. Basically, the earth is alive and we have to pay attention to it. And we have to roll along with what the earth is providing for us, as far as when we go to harvest and when it's time to plant and when it's time to switch out crops, things of that nature. So to me, I feel like I'm still in the same field somewhat.
Literally in the field. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my stripes. I'm not as versed in the agriculture and horticultural venue as Farmer Levi is. He rocks. Look, he's very humble. But he's very knowledgeable as well. Like every time he speaks, I'm listening, like learning something. Yeah, he's very, very passionate as I am about farming.
What's your favorite thing about farming?
Well, my grandparents were farmers. So I felt like when I started here last year as a community gardener and I came over to volunteer at the farm, that's how I was able to actually fall into this role this year. I felt like I found a power that was already bestowed upon me, being able to garden and farm, the freedom and the empowerment that it gives me to be able to have a power to put a seed in the ground and allow nature to do its thing with it and be able to feed me on the back end of it and be able to empower others with that same skill set is something very, nothing less than amazing. So with that being said, that's my favorite part. I don't have one particular plant that I'm in love with. Mm-hmm. I just love the skill of planting and watching it grow, watching it fruit, watching, the changes that come about during the seasons. I love being able to harvest. I love when volunteers come and they harvest and we are able to teach them some of the skills that we use every day out here. I think that's more so amazing to me, just being able to give this power, this exchange of energy to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that can be kept a secret. It's not something that, we should cover to ourselves. Everyone needs to be able to plant a seed and water it, watch it grow, and be able to harvest. It's a cycle.
Mm-hmm. So good. It's like you're in preventative medicine now, right? Because it's like what you're putting in your body.
I would say so. I love herbs, and I do come from a a culture and a group of women. My godmother is a herbalist.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I feel like now I'm in a different I'm in a different realm of the medicine. You're
Yeah.
right, preventative medicine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our food is our power. Our food is our medicine. Being out here, this is the real pharmacy. This is the real
Oh,
pharmacy.
that's
The
good.
food.
Yeah.
Yeah, the food here is the real pharmacy. With these natural herbs and naturally organic grown vegetables, you can prevent a lot of these pre-existing medical conditions that a lot of Americans have. And these natural medicines, these natural remedies, they don't go into the body and mask one symptom and break down another. That's the difference with this pharmacy versus the, westernized medicine take on things.
Yeah.
Yes, natural remedies and natural preventative medicine is, that's the team I'm playing for now.
Yeah, I love it. That's good. I think it's important to to talk about too how the word or like the phrase like food desert exists, right? And how
Yeah.
can you help us understand like what a food desert is and what that means and how not everybody has equal access to nutritious food?
Okay. Well, here in West Philadelphia, I was born here in Philadelphia, in West Philadelphia. And the food desert definition that I would use is that we have a lot of stores that populate our corners here, but they do not offer anything of nutritional substance, maybe chips, soda, things of that nature. You may be able to find maybe a head of lettuce and maybe some tomatoes in some of these corner stores, but they're simply for sandwiches that you have to buy from the deli, from the store. That's not something that you can actually go home and create a nutritious, balanced meal. So we have all these stores, but no access to beneficial food. So that's the food desert. They're not selling what you would need in order to sustain a balanced nutritional, lifestyle. You would need to go outside of this community in order to gather, eggplants, tomatoes, broccoli, things of that nature, or maybe to the store. And with that being said, a lot of our youth, they aren't aware of where our fruit comes from or where
Yeah.
our vegetables come from.
Mhm.
So you will run into a conversation with the youth that will say, oh, a watermelon grows on the ground, or
Mhm.
onions, they come from the ground. It's not a tree. And someone else from another part, maybe someone from a more rural area, they would think like that was something that someone didn't know already. But that is the reality when you're in a food desert. There's access to a lot of fatty, high cholesterol, high sugar products on every corner, but there's nothing like a fresh orange or fresh apple or, grapes, things of that nature. So that's where the food desert definition or title comes from.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. And I read that, yeah, 25 million Americans are more than 15 minutes from like an actual grocery store.
Yes. And that's still, a system of control as well, because when you go to the stores now, a lot of our fruit has been genetically modified. So you won't have the seed. So, that's another powerful thing to have seeds and be able to go into a yard and place it in soil or, propagate it in water and be able to benefit from that seed. Now those seeds that are like hybrid seeds, they're hard to come by or you have to buy them. You can't just save seeds from your fruit. As a child, I could bite into an apple and there would be seeds. You bite into an apple now, there's no seeds.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's
get a
wild.
watermelon, it's seedless watermelons, And as we would say in our culture, our elders, those from the South and things of that nature, they won't eat the watermelons that don't have seeds because they come from a time where, seeds are inside of all real, fruit,
Yeah.
from the God bearing fruit, there has always been
Yeah.
seeds. So you have some that think that it's, a freak of nature but I still rather someone have access to the seedless watermelon than bag of Doritos
True.
or,
True.
the sodas and things of that nature. At least, you still have that. But we are lucky enough to have individuals like myself and Farmer Levi who have a passion and wanting to change these spaces that are allocated for us in our community into a source abundance, and accessible spaces of nutrition to the community. So you don't have to worry about these stores.
Yeah. And you're doing it in a way that's like sustainable and empowering. So you're not just like, right, like give a man a fish. You're not just like giving a watermelon. You're like teaching how to grow a watermelon too.
How to grow watermelon, yes.
So it's like multiplying your impact.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's something that, I feel like we all have that passion here at Mill Creek. And it's a small, like, family type of feeling amongst us all here. And it's nothing more rewarding than to deliver the raised beds with the backyard program that we have that Levi was telling you about. And just the faces of the recipients are just so amazing. They're so excited to get started. We give them seeds to get started with, and we provide them with the soil, all the tools they need,
Yeah.
all the empowerment, and all the encouragement that they need to go along with starting their own backyard gardens and empowering them with skills so that in the event that they don't have access, hopefully that's not the case, but in the event someone doesn't have access, they have access in their backyard. It's right
Yeah.
here in their home, or it's
Yeah.
a vertical garden. Whatever space that you're in, you don't necessarily have to have a house. You can have an apartment, and we're willing to come there and give a consultation and see what best fits your lifestyle, so that you can too have a garden and have something accessible as far as the nutrition.
Yeah, that's amazing. I wish you guys were here. I would take one. I need that.
And we would be glad to deliver one to you. Absolutely, yes.
I'm down to
And then I can meet your
that.
husband and we can talk about some EMS stuff.
Oh man, yeah, for sure. He's from Haiti too. We lived in Haiti for the last 10 years.
Oh, tell him sac passe.
Yes. I would say so. Same with him. He's like, "Oh, you have a cold? Let me make you some tea." And he just will throw together this like crazy tea from
Yes,
the
a
garden.
roux of herbs.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that is the pharmacy. Absolutely. And I'm the type of person we have we have an elderberry tree here. Our farm is encompassed with an orchard around where we have a pawpaw tree. We have a Japanese apple tree. We have some figs that are actually ripening at this time as we speak. I actually had picked a few off of the bush while you were interviewing
Oh yeah.
Farmer Levi. Yes. Martha and I had the, taste for some figs. So you didn't know. I just ducked out. We have an elderberry tree, and elderberry is very good for like colds and things of that
That's
nature.
what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, so we are lucky to have like access to elderberry. With elderberry, you have to boil it before you consume it first. PSA statement.
I don't know. I don't know anything.
Be careful with the elderberry. Public service announcement. Public service announcement with that one. But the elderberry is very good. We have access to it. So yeah, I'm sure he does take care of you in that manner because
Yeah.
being Haitian and having ties to the islands like I do as well. That's the first thing that our elders and our ancestors would teach us to do is to go into the yard and procure, certain herbs.
Yeah.
And that's what we would deal with if we have a cold or some remedy, as opposed to going and buying something over the counter.
Yeah.
You go into the backyard, you go into your herbal yard, you dry out your basil, you dry out your turmeric, you dry out your tarragon, you dry out your rosemary, or you keep it fresh. And when you need those things, whether you're cooking or whether you're making a tea, that's it's nothing more, I thought I was a bad mama jamma when I was an EMT, being a farmer.
Yeah.
It's something, it's just a whole new, realm.
Yeah. Seems like you're doing well. Do you or Farmer Levi want to leave us with maybe a story of like an individual or something that you feel inspired by that keeps you going in the farming community?
I think one of the things that keep me going with this is the tons of people who smile when they can walk away with a bag of vegetables
Mm-hmm.
that was just picked. Also, seeing how gardening has healed people emotionally, that is something I've watched people come here and blossom. I watch people change from gardening. That's the main thing. I watched the change from gardening. I've seen people who didn't have a peaceful place to sit. Gardening and growing has given them that place of refuge. So at the end of the day, what keeps me going for this is being able to feed my community.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other place like it. There's not too many places. We can count on our hands how many places are built on this magnitude that's peaceful and directly in urban areas, tightly packed urban areas, Black communities, Latino communities, poor white communities, straight up hoods, where people of various ethnic groups and economic levels can come and find a peaceful space when peace seems to be something very fleeting in this day and time, especially Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
You're calling from Orlando, so I think you've seen Philadelphia in the news. Philadelphia is the most violent city in America right now.
Wow.
I think people are really competing to see which city is going to be the most violent city this year. Philadelphia is on the top of the list. We also was on the top of the list for food insecurity in the United States of America. We was ranking number 1. So,
Wow.
and it has the potential to be the number 1 producer.
Yeah.
So I think that's the beauty. Just see that I help to maintain a peaceful environment that children and young people and families and people of all walks of life can come to and escape to. I think that's a blessing.
Yeah. So well said. Thank you for that.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. A special thank you to Mill Creek Farms and Farmer Levi and Farmer Tosheena. I'm going to have all of the links and how to get in contact with Mill Creek at lapointefoundation.life. I would love to hear any feedback you have. You can email me directly, Callie@lapointefoundation.org. Until next time, keep on fighting for justice.